So I know this one's a little bit late because, every month I do a little wrap up, of my must watches. And August is kind of delayed and so is September, so it's kind of a combination of the two. But every month I pretty much break down everything that I've watched, right? From my least favorite all the way to my must watches, the things I recommend. Hoping to put something in your radar, something that you may have not known, something that you may like even if I didn't, and of course my recommendations. And this one's a little late mainly because of the road trip. As you guys know, you can follow on Instagram if you're curious. I was going from Orlando all the way to Toronto, and it's been really cool because I was able to go to TIFF, Red Sox game, all these different things. Probably I'll have a whole video on a bunch of the experiences that I had in the road trip in 5 minutes or something. The whole Boston experience of getting scammed, but also being able to meet a lot of you. Shout out to Fernando and his cuisine of
tropical, exotic, rainforest cafe, a wild place to shop and eat.
Incredible taste. And Andres and Dylan and Walker, I know that's your Twitter name, but you and your sister, and shout out to Shavanda, shout out to AJ, shout out to Destiny for helping out with the Disney stuff, shout out to Lynn, all the people that I was able to meet around the way or who were giving me like tips and advice through Twitter and Facebook and Instagram and all that stuff. It was a really cool road trip. Almost burnt out from it, but that was the other side of it. I'm usually not one to make like a video about like YouTube burnout and stuff like that. If you followed me at any point in time, you would know that when I take a break from A to Z, it's because I'm making like 5 other videos a week for Let Me Explain, and the one every bi-monthly for Hear Me Out. I always like to keep busy with stuff, but I'm also a person who I would just take a break. And I know for a lot of people, because of the YouTube hustle and the game inside of it, taking a break means that a lot of people are going to be like, well, I'm done with you. Sorry, but you got to do it, right? Like for those people who don't want to stick around, I'll earn your thing back with working extra hard when I come back. But for those who do care and for those who keep up and they're like, bro, you good? You alive? You don't tweet for an hour and people think you're dead. Yeah, sometimes you just take a break, and that was a little bit of it. That was a little bit of the road trip and stuff. So for those who do watch all of my stuff, including the longer videos on ATZ, whenever it appears on your inbox and stuff like that, that's my explanation for you guys. Sometimes you just take a break, come back. Ain't gotta make a whole video series about burnouts and stuff like that, but keep your mental state in order. But like I said, this is the must watch. I had the timer before because some of you are like, stop wasting my time. I always put the thing up in the beginning if you don't want to hear my jibble jabble, but some people also always question, if this is your must watch, why do you always got a bunch of the movies that you don't really recommend as your must watch? So I decided, you know what? Do it a little bit different for this time. All of my August and September picks, just the things I recommend, TV and movies. So it's not going to be everything that I watch, just the things I highly recommend the most. If you're curious of everything else, I always link down below the Let Me Explain videos that I may have made for them. I have the letterbox, which is a little delayed, but I rank everything that I've watched throughout the year. So you can definitely go check out all that other stuff as I break down my must watches for the end of summer. So I'm surprised that a lot of my favorite shows come from Netflix, maybe because it's the most easiest to watch, but there's some good Hulu stuff, HBO's got some good stuff, but recently for the end of summer, while there is some stuff that I need to catch up on, Netflix has had them all, and it's a lot of series that have returned, Atypical being one of them. This is a show about this teenager who's on the spectrum, and it's like this family drama. It's not anything that's too crazy. It's not like going for these crazy acting awards or anything like that. But I love it because of how simplistic it is, and the fact that while it is, Atypical, talking about this kid who has autism, it really is just this family drama and the things that they go through. And the beauty of it is that by the second season, this kid, if I see him in anything else, I literally cannot get his performance from Atypical out of my mind. I'm just always seeing him as this character. But I love how in the second season, it's not that they're putting the fact that this family is always dealing with him going to therapy and stuff like that, but it's the fact that it's becoming more of a high school drama, a relationship drama. Someone has cheated and they got to deal with that. And it's almost making it the sideline story. And that's not a bad thing. That's the best thing you can do. I have a sister with Down syndrome. So we've always been in that circle of special needs and going to different groups and stuff like that. And I think the beauty of not overemphasizing or oversaturating that of the kid being in the spectrum is the fact that you almost include it in everything else. It's difficult to explain, which is why I highly recommend watching the show. But the fact that Atypical is just a typical show. And that's the beauty of it. Ozark is another Netflix one that you need to hop on. At first, a lot of people were calling it, including myself, a little bit of a Breaking Bad light. But if you remember when a bunch of ASAP fans were giving your boy Travis a lot of trouble and saying, oh, he's just a copycat, he's just a copycat. And then by the time he came out with his season 2, everyone was like, now you stand on your own. That's Ozark, and that's Ozark season 2. Ozark is about this family who ends up moving to the Ozarks in Missouri because they got to come up with some crazy way to make money in order to pay back the cartels. And this is one of those shows where things happen, and it's not until you're in the next episode or through the credits that you're going like, did that man just do that to that baby? I really love season 1, and what I love about season 2 is that if you remember Skyler from Breaking Bad and how annoying she was, they pretty much took everything that we hated about that character and said, Laura Linney, you're not doing that. You're literally going to become one of the best characters on the show and one of the best female characters on television. Now, BoJack has been one of the shows that I've mentioned the most. I love BoJack Horseman. I want to say it's season 5 or season 6. My favorites have been the first 3 because I've always talked about how, and especially this time, anything dealing with depression or suicide or, you know, all of these crazy things, all these super dark subjects, when you get that in a drama, sometimes they're just corny. Sometimes it's just cheesy. They're trying to do good, but it doesn't do it. So get yourself a talking horse who's a sex addict and addicted to drugs because he was in this like Full House knockoff thing and now he's a washed up actor. It's a cartoon. Sometimes the most absurd things can handle these really dark human subjects the best. I'm always all for that, like Zootopia, Mouse, the graphic novel. This does it super well. My thing with it is that while my first 3 are my favorites, it is one of those shows that everyone always tells you got to stick with it a little bit. I clicked for me right away, but I understand some people going, it's a little weird. The first 3 seasons, even the 4th one, I'd say is some of the best in television. They do things not only with their puns and stuff like that, but the way that they get from a talking dog who just wants to do a crossover with this horse to like suicide and overdosing and how serious those things can get, while at the same time also doing these like super creative episodes that just take place completely underwater, or a news agency that's just trying to renew your subscription ad and the whole story's told that way. They come up with some interesting stuff, which is the only reason why I think that season 5, when it comes to the puns, they're just doing anything that sticks at the wall a little bit, and it's like they've outdone themselves so much with the first couple of seasons that it's not bad. It's never gonna be bad. It's just when you give us masterpieces, kind of look at great seasons just like, oh, it's just great. My favorite show on television now, period. Season 1, I think, is a masterpiece. If you saw my favorites of last year, my favorite movies, you know I went super pretentious, and I put this as one of my favorite ones, because when it comes down to stories, this was one of the best ones. I absolutely loved season 1. Season 2 is good. Doesn't compare to season 1, but my job here is to tell you to go watch both of the seasons, especially season 1, because it's one of those things, as I made a whole video about it, where it's so difficult to say, hey, you need to watch this thing. It's kind of like making fun of Serial, kind of making fun of Making a Murderer, but it's still just as good. It's not doing that thing where it's a parody and then it's still lazy. It's just as good when it comes to the investigation side of things, except what they're investigating is dicks drawn in a high school parking lot. What they're investigating in season 2 is a turd burglar who put something in the lemonade and all the kids pooped their pants. But I promise you it's actually really, really good. My only thing with season 2 was that it's a fantastic ending. I really do like the second season, but I want to say it was about the 3rd episode. We came up with a theory that was so insane. We're like, this is, if they don't end this season or a future season like this, we Last Jedi'd ourselves, to put it lightly. We came up with this thing that was so insane that when we got something that was really, really good, we were just like, yeah, but there's this excellent theory out there that you can do, that you can definitely push forward. And if they don't use it in one of the future seasons, I might have to come up with my own American YouTube or something.
Greatest in the world, greatest in the world, greatest in the world. No lie, I might be.
Now here are my 5 must-watch movies from the end of summer that I personally liked. As always, let me know your thoughts down below. I do read them. I don't just say that. I actually do. A lot of these are actually because you guys recommended while I'm in festivals, such as We the Animals, a movie that I had almost skipped, and people were calling it. They're like, this is the Florida project of this year, the Moonlight of this year, because it deals with these kids who are going through things, and it's in particular these 3 boys who, when their parents split up, I believe you're seeing it from the youngest point of view, and the youngest is going through a lot of his own troubles, and the way that the whole movie is artistically told through his perspective and his drawings, his illustrations, and how he doesn't really understand what's going on, why his mom is so sad, and where's his dad, and what are these other emotions that he's feeling. A lot of people like to throw the word pretentious out there, not because the actual filmmaker is doing something that's out of their league, or they're pretending to be something bigger than they're not, which is what the word really means. It's because they themselves didn't connect or relate to it. But I'll end this recommendation with the words that the director himself said when he announced the film. He said, "I put my entire heart and soul into this movie, so I hope you enjoy it or like it just a little bit." Monsters and Men was another one that came out at Sundance, and I know it came out at Toronto as well. And I got picked up by MoviePass, which I know MoviePass has been going all over the place, but at least I'll say as long as MoviePass is picking it up, hopefully it'll get a bigger distribution. And for those who still have MoviePass, at least you'll be able to see this one. This is my third of the list here, and it definitely, I believe, is still in my top 10. And the reason I love it was because out of all of the race-related movies that we've had this year, and we have had a lot, I don't want to say it's its own genre of its own, but film festivals have made it its own genre of its own. This movie, I think, stands out of all of them because of its authenticity. BlackkKklansman would be another one of the end of summer that I would highly recommend. I did enjoy that one. Crime and Punishment, I want to say, is on Amazon already. Fantastic documentary that you can go watch right now as well. Those are 2 other ones I would highlight. But Monsters and Men, as it's getting its limited release, I think is fantastic because it's told in 3 parts of this guy who witnesses police brutality, and then the second part about how they have to deal with that, and then the third part about this kid who has to decide whether he's going to get involved and stand up for it or not. And the beauty of it is, one, it's very rare for movies to have the balls to look at both perspectives. You have Denzel Washington's son in this movie who's playing a police officer, and there is this scene that happens at a dinner table where you have someone who's completely against the cops and is like, nah, they're completely in the wrong, and this guy's going, no, you don't understand what police officers go through, and they go at it. And then the director comes out and he goes, everything in this movie is based off of a real conversation that I had with other people, where I know for a fact I'm right, but what if I took what they were telling me that they truly believed in and I emphasized it on screen? And I think a lot of directors have trouble directing sympathy for characters who they personally don't agree with. And I'm not talking about like a supervillain who wants to take over the world. That's easy, having fun with that. But when you're directing a character who you may not agree with politically, and he gives them some of the most human dialogue, some of the most convincing things, and I think he leaves it up for you to discuss, and it really is a discussion point. I've always said this. I always like judging the movie on its own, and I highly love it. But sometimes you want to root for these directors too. I talked about how a lot of directors at Sundance don't show up to the Q&As or their screenings because I don't know what they're doing at Sundance. Do your thing. But this dude woke up early in the morning after being at a late blind spotting screening the night before. I had mentioned this story. And he came the day before to make sure that everyone who woke up at 8 o'clock in the morning to go see the screening of his movie was going to make it in. And he went to the waitlist line and introduced himself and promised everyone. And I thought that was cool. And the whole Q&A section that he did, the dude was super authentic. He talked about how his dad was a cop. And with a bunch of the movies that we're getting, right, I can make an entire list of all of these movies that share a very similar story. I'm telling you that for me personally, this is the one that stuck out the most. My second one for the end of summer is The Miseducation of Cameron Post. Yes, basic, another Sundance movie. I love Sundance. I made a video about it. Go watch it because tickets go on sale soon, and I want you guys to go to it. Because Sundance is the dopest film festival. The Miseducation of Cameron Post is one of the movies that I'm very sad did not get a bigger rollout. I'm almost like ticked off it didn't get a bigger rollout because this won, like, I want to say the grand jury prize or the audience prize at Sundance, and then, like, no one even hears about it. I feel like Sundance has a responsibility to make sure these movies get a bigger push out there. You guys need to check this movie out because I want to say it's one of Chloe Grace's best performance. But forget Cameron Post, it's the supporting cast that really builds this up, and where this girl gets sent into gay conversion therapy camp in the 90s, and it's actually based off of a book. And the movie only covers like the first third. I think it was like the first 90 pages of the book. So I don't know if there's going to be another sequel to it or not. But the beautiful part about this movie is how like raw it is. Like no one's cheesy in this movie. They're just like, all right, I'm in gay conversion therapy camp. Let me know when this is over. And they just go through the motions of it. It's like, it's the funniest movie, while at the same time being the most sad, heartbreaking thing. In particular, this one scene about when I am weak, he is strong. When you see it, you know what I'm talking about. But I feel like this is one of the most under the radar movies that didn't get any attention. The film fans probably saw it out there, but for the rest of you, put this on your radar, because I don't know if there's going to be another one to it. The Education of Cameron Post, but the Miseducation of Cameron Post was one of the best movies I've seen all year, and I wish more people saw it. And finally, leave it to Netflix to make the best movie of the year. To all the boys, y'all already know it's Searching. Like I've been talking about this all the time. I have people who tweet me, Instagram me, Facebook me about this movie. I got a text message the other day. I don't know how you guys got my number letting me know, yo, Searching, I caught the secret movie in Searching. I'm glad you guys have been seeing Searching. I loved it. I have a whole interview with the producer coming out. I have the interview with the both co-writers, the director and producer, over on the Intercut. But I have another one that we redid that I'm going to specifically post here as I'm wrapping up my Let Me Explain for It of the secret movie in Searching. I have been talking about this movie since Sundance. I had tweeted out about it. It's a little bit funny that I said this movie was really good. Some people are like, I don't know if it's going to live up to the hype. People come out saying, it wasn't that good. You overhyped it. Then Stuckman gives it an A, and YMS the Nitpicker says he loves it as well. All of a sudden, y'all change your mind. I told you guys since Sundance, I love this movie. I'm not saying it's the best of the year, but I personally related to it. I loved seeing the filmmaker's journey to it. People have been saying, are you getting paid by them? No, I should be. Sony, cut the check. Stop claiming my videos. I'm doing the best to promote your movies better than you can. Spoiling your movies in the truth. I love Searching. Definitely go see it if you haven't. Watch it again as I'm making my video, and I got y'all the exclusive with the producer about all the secret references and stuff that are in there. It's definitely a movie that can be watched multiple times. And it's one that I've seen it 5 times, and I'm still missing things. Thank you guys for checking out this video. As always, big shout out to the patrons. Like I said, I've been catching up on a lot of things as I was out. Gotta find a way to burn out. Go on a road trip. Let it sizzle a bit. I have a whole thing that I'm changing up over there, and I'm going to work on a whole video for the Patreon thing over there. In where Patreon I've always seen as just like the tips and all that. I always want to focus on making Let Me Explain and all this free content. So that was always as tips. But I want to add a whole other feature of if I can't upload something early because I don't want it to just be like half quality or delay it for the public and then it ruins that like window of space that it needs to be released. I want to provide something for the patrons, something that I love doing, something that still is more effort, and that is weekly live shows. I have a whole thing of them that I've been teasing, that I've been talking about, that I want to push on over there, but that's definitely something that I want to do. And then just get back on this train over here, making more videos over here. I have made so many videos that I've either written or recorded. They're like half edited, and you just get like this whole brain fart, and you want to just go take a break of it. Go take it, because sometimes, you know, it's better that you go take a break instead of just thinking that you're obsolete and no one wants to watch you anymore and you're gone because you haven't made a video and you're practically dead to everybody, and they give you the second death because no one remembers you and they don't put you on their ofrenda. But other than that, you can let me know your favorites down below in the comments section. Like I said, I got the tip video for some of the most anticipated ones. I'm going to be at the Chicago International Film Festival. If you want to meet me there, we can watch some movies. But other than that, keep watching movies, and I'll see you guys later.